I have this anti-theft club on my car. The only way it prevents theft is making it impossible for any worthwhile turn. If you can't turn it, you're not going to be able to get far. So unless you want to take a back and forth joyride, you're going to need to turn to get away. Turning in a car is easy, but turning on a unicycle, not so much. There are two concepts you need to understand. Unicycles don't ride straight, they squiggle. And you need to lean in the direction you want to go. I made a video describing how unicycles ride side to side, not completely straight. But to sum up, in order to move the pedals, you need to shift your weight to apply force on that pedal. If you're up and riding, and for all practical purposes, this causes the unicycle to lean and turn towards the side of the pedal you're pushing down on. This is okay because as soon as that pedal passes through the dead zone, the other pedal is in position to be pushed down and the unicycle will turn and tilt to the other side. We can use this to our advantage when turning. If you're hoping to turn right, it would be advantageous to wait until you're ready to push down on the right pedal. This isn't a requirement, but it is helpful when first starting off until you get more comfortable with more immediate movement of the hips. If you've tried turning without timing when you're applying force to the ipsilateral pedal, you might have felt awkward but couldn't really understand why. Well, this is the reason. You might even find yourself doing that big open palm, whipping the car around move.
We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good.
This is what a lot of beginners do, and I actually do sometimes. If I'm trying to generate momentum from the top down to turn my hips in the direction that I want to go, it's not as efficient as it could be using some other techniques. You can take mellow turns or sharp turns this way, but the degree of the turn is really determined by the second concept, leaning in the direction you want to go. As with most dynamic balance apparatuses, the unicycle is your base of support, and you move it under you to catch you as you're leaning to stay balanced. You have to move your body first, then move the unicycle under you, not the other way around. Just like when you walk, you lean forward and your foot catches you. Your foot has a step in the direction that you're leaning, so if you wanted to walk to the right, you lean to the right first, then step. This applies to unicycling too. Just make sure that when you lean, you're also turning the unicycle in the direction of your lean. If you lean without letting your unicycle turn, you're just going to topple over. The more you lean, the more abrupt your turn will be since you have to pedal hard to get the wheel under you in time. Plus, you still have to lean forward to go forward, so if you're just doing a mellow turn, you don't have to hold up and lean backwards at all. Just tilt slightly to the side. However, if you're trying to make a sharp 90-degree or more turn, you might have to avoid leaning forward or even lean backwards slightly to make this happen. In a perfect world, you would combine the squiggle of the unicycle and lean to turn. Here's an overanalyzed breakdown of what turning may look like with respect to these two concepts. You're about to make a sharp 90-degree right turn. When the left pedal is being pushed down, the unicycle will probably start squiggling left. Use this to your advantage to allow the unicycle to move to the left, because then, relative to the unicycle, you're leaning right. Once the left pedal is all the way down, you discontinue leaning forward and continue to lean right. While you're pushing the right pedal down, your hips go with the right turn and tilting of the unicycle to orient your body to face right. Continue leaning where you want to go, and if you aren't completely facing in the direction you want, you can continue turning when pushing on the left pedal or repeat the steps to turn a little bit more. You may have also noticed that my arms were swinging slightly to help me rotate in the direction of my turn. The arm swing is definitely helpful, but it's only one piece of the puzzle, which is why the whipping the car around move isn't as efficient as it could be unless you incorporate the pushing down with the pedal and leaning in the direction of your turn.
It's worthwhile to note that if you follow these steps, the tire is going to be turning on the pavement or whatever terrain you're on when the crank is about horizontal. This means all the friction of turning is going to be imparted on your tire really at two major points. If you look at both of these tires, this tire is fairly new and all the stubs are pretty much intact, but I've had this unicycle and tire since 2007, and you can really tell that when the crank is horizontal, the tire where it meets the ground is really bare compared to some of the other parts of the tire. It would be in your best interest to rotate your tires, or at least the position of them relative to where your crank is, every so often so you don't literally burn a hole in one spot in your tire.
Turning on a unicycle is quite literally a product of practice in understanding how to move the unicycle where you want to go. In order to practice, try exaggerating the unicycle squiggle to get a feel for how the unicycle moves when turning. Then slowly start leaning and turning your hips ever so slightly to make shallow turns. Then build your way up to sharper and more exaggerated turns. Take your time to practice this. I hope this explanation and the suggestions were helpful. Let me know in the comments if they are or are not, and consider subscribing if you want more unicycling content. Thanks and good luck.